Time to wrap things up for this week with our Line Opinion panel with a discussion about whether or not a major financial crisis is looming in New Mexico. The state's eviction moratorium is still in place, but as Searchlight New Mexico recently reported, that hasn't stopped some landlords from filing thousands of eviction notices during the pandemic. And this week marked the cutoff for a moratorium on utility shutoffs for New Mexicans behind on payments. There are relief programs out there, but Serge, as you know from your work in this area, it will not be enough. And I just have to ask you, how are these evictions even happening when there's a moratorium in place? Is this illegal? What's going on here?
There are a lot of evictions happening. Most of them are landlords who have figured out that the stay imposed by the New Mexico Supreme Court or the CDC moratorium only applied to a limited subset of evictions, and those are for non-payment of rent. Mm-hmm. So, at this point, a year and a half in, people have figured out there's lots of ways to remove tenants. And so because of the limited nature of this stay, right, what we're seeing is evictions happening even when we are giving lip service to the public policy goal of keeping people from moving around during the pandemic and being dislocated from their homes. So it's not a loophole. It's functioning exactly as planned and anticipated, and as many of us said would happen, and it is happening, right? The stay it's not the complete blanket protection that a lot of folks like to think it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Merritt, is it too early to think about lifting these moratoriums? Are we just putting off the inevitable without dealing, with the underlying issues at stake here?
Well, I kind of feel like there are so many programs in place that aren't talking to each other, because one thing I've been looking at is renthelpnm.org, mm-hmm. which is a pretty good site. As of August, and I'm reading the banner right now, as of August 12th, 2021, we have issued 10,237 awards totaling $26,797,000. This is a really good website that the state offers, offering federal grants for people needing help with rent and utilities. And there's a whole site for landlords so that they can steer their tenants that way to get grants, to get paid. So it also, it's showing that the state understands landlords kind of need this too, to keep landlords from going under. So there are some kind of robust programs in place to kind of keep this going, because landlords can't go without rent forever either. That's right. Particularly in Albuquerque, where our housing market, single home market is kind of skyrocketing, which is going to create a housing equality problem if we don't have one already. I think it's a difficult program to keep an eye on, because we have federal cash flooding in. We've just gotten the infrastructure bill passed this week, mm-hmm. Well, by the Senate. It's got to go to the House, get through the House. The uncertainty of the pandemic continues, kind of pointing to our first segment this week. So I think there's help out there. I think to say it's too early, I can't agree with that statement. At some point, we've got to attempt to go back to morality. Well, that's also a good idea too. Well. Normality. That's a good spoonerism, Merritt. Normality and morality. I'm for both.
I love it.
So yeah, I'm not ready to say it's too soon. I kind of feel like we've used 27,000 of 170 million of federal aid. I kind of feel like
I hear you. We've spent just over 20 million out of the 284 million available, and that money's going to go away, Senator, at the end of September, unless we start spending a whole lot more. And Merritt mentions, we have a pretty decent website for people to get help. How do we get people to the website, first of all? That's the biggest part, to take advantage of some of this money.
Well, one quick, obvious answer mm-hmm. is public service announcements. And maybe this is something our media everywhere, mm-hmm. From, television to cable to newspapers, whatever, could run like a public service announcement. I think this is certainly something that's impacting all of the public, not just the renters. One of the things, comments and stuff that I've read about is that some of the money that's been given out to the applicant, the renter, is not then getting to the owner of the facility. So, and that it's being spent for other things. And I'm not saying this is a big problem or not a problem, but there is enough of that issue out in perception that our owners are very concerned about whether the monies will get to them eventually. And you're right, that's a lot of money we're talking about, and people should apply. All we can do is keep pounding on it.
That's right.
To do it, and then hope that it gets where it's supposed to go.
Let me get Serge in here, of course. And Serge, a June report from the LFC, I have to say it again, if New Mexico does not spend a third of that $284 million by the end of September, we could lose millions in badly needed aid. Touch on this, if you would, everything you've heard here. What needs to happen next?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same things. I talk about the emergency rental assistance money, every day as much as I can to whoever I'll talk to. And I am constantly surprised that people are surprised when I tell them that this money is available.
Right.
And when they do apply, the website, as Merritt said, is pretty good. It's pretty functional, easy to do. There's a waiting period of a few weeks that is slowing some of this down. And there's also a spot for landlords to apply for this, for landlords to say, my tenants, and we talk about people, individual tenants may not know about this money being available. Landlords know about this money.
That's right.
Right.
Hey, Serge, let me ask you something else here. In the work you do, 91% of evicted renters in Albuquerque did not have legal representation. The research shows. How do we fix that? How do we get renters better representation in these situations?
There are places that have made it used, funds to pay for lawyers for everybody who's facing eviction, and they've seen outcomes that keep people from getting evicted. It's not, the courts, the eviction courts are designed with the idea of being accessible to people who don't have lawyers. In practice, it's bewildering and overwhelming in a lot of cases. But the places, there are two answers, I guess. One is more money for lawyers, right? But that's a bit self-serving. The other is reduce the number of folks who are facing eviction. And by encouraging, for example, right now, say, look, as a landlord, if you want to evict somebody for non-payment, first you need to talk to the ERAP people, the rent help people, and see if you can get that money. If there's a reason that you can't get paid, right, then we can talk about that. Slowing things down to allow folks to be able to try to get that money would significantly reduce the folks who are in court, which would reduce the number of folks who don't have access to lawyers. So you can come at it from either way. But it's true, it's a real issue, right? As a lawyer, obviously, I believe everybody deserves to have the benefit of someone who's trained in the law and who's not going to be overwhelmed by the court.
That's right. And as you've made the point many times here, Professor, these folks are going out the door with an eviction on their record, which makes their life very, very difficult down the road. So that's a wrap for this week's Line Panel. Thanks again for all your efforts. Be sure to keep up with the conversation with us this week on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.